You're tuned into The Collective Voice, thought-provoking interviews co-hosted by young adults, fostering deep faith through courageous questions. Welcome to the conversation.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 787 Collective Voice podcast. I'm Reverend Cece Sukmak-Saunier here with the Congregational Innovation Department. As always, we have Reverend Phil Dickey, and I'm going to toss it over to Phil to introduce our guest this week.
Yeah, we have a friend of the industry for a while here. Izzy's been doing work with us on our Next Is Now project all the way back to a couple years ago when we actually began the research. So in a lot of ways, you, Izzy, were a big part of making that part happen. And I have to catch you up sometime because it's gone a long way since we started that process. But Izzy Lopez is a MAYM student at Austin Seminary and currently serving at St. John's United Methodist Church in Austin, Texas. And so, Izzy, we are really grateful for your time and that you're willing to join us to share a little bit about your experience and anything else that you would want to share with our audience about who you are and maybe you do all kinds of youth and fun things. What's a good fun fact about you or something, right? Like, what's that good icebreaker?
Oh, yeah, man. Good icebreaker. This is one of my favorites. I can't take credit for this one. I'd love to hear y'all's answers, too, if we're going to do this.
Can't wait.
If you could have any condiment come out of your belly button and it be sanitary, what condiment would you choose and why? Again, can't take credit for this one, but I love this one so much. I would definitely have to say white queso. That would be my, if I could just have that constantly, it'd be great. So yeah, that's what I would definitely choose as my condiment.
So I'm laughing so hard at this because I literally was having a conversation with Melissa in the CC yesterday because one of the questions that I love is if you could have, somebody posed to me one time whenever I asked if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And the person's response was, I would shoot different condiments out of each of my fingers.
That's so funny.
Which gives you a whole lot of diversity that way. But that is hilarious that that's the question you asked.
Yeah, so timely, so appropriate. I don't want to even think about a condiment coming out of my belly button. I'll be honest.
True.
So, is there a pass option? Could it be?
No, you have to come up with something.
It's what is a condiment? Because I wouldn't say white queso is a condiment, personally.
That's fair. True, I had not considered queso as a condiment, so I think that's a good question.
Yeah, but that's true.
If that gets to be hers, then I want mine to be cashew queso.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, if she's going queso, I might go cashew queso from Kirby Lane because it's hard to beat that. That's a hilarious question.
Hilarious question. Izzy, before we get started, I want to, as a new person on the team still, even though it's been almost 4 full months now, MAYM, Next Is Now, what are these things? I don't know. Thank you, Cece.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, I'm a United Methodist born and raised, and we love our acronyms. So MAYM stands for Masters of Arts in Youth Ministry. And so that's the degree that I'm getting through Austin Seminary.
Hence the question.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why I would ask such a outrageous icebreaker question. And then Next Is Now is just, Phil, you can correct me if I'm messing anything up. We did a lot of research with young adults and transitions in their life. And so that was kind of the beginnings of some research that we did that I got to be a part of, which feels like not that long ago, but also I'm like, wait, actually that was a long time ago. Cause
it's 2 years ago. I
just started my degree and now I'm finishing it. So yeah, I think that's a good summary of all that.
Yeah. Basically Next Is Now was this idea of trying to figure out this bridging between college age ministry and young adult ministry. And, Meredith, who was part of the research team that was working on this, had this great quote of we do a disservice to our young adults by having effective campus ministry because when they graduate out, they can't find the same experience.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, the contents of that research have really driven a lot of the work that we do through 787, even the podcast, right? So often on the podcast, we talk about where people find belonging, where young adults find belonging within the church, beyond the church, and then if they can't find it, how are they creating it? And so we're seeing a lot of too. And then, like you said, transitions, right? We talk a lot about transitions because the research showed us that the perpetual state of young adulthood is this space of transition, whether it's graduating from college and going to your first job or going to grad school or both and, as some of us, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, then you're on your second job and then you're onto a new city and then, relationships have transitioned in the midst of all of that too. And so how do you navigate this perpetual state of transition?
Yeah.
So it really has been foundational work for who we are as a collective. So yeah, thank you for being a part of that from the beginning.
For sure.
It's been awesome. And Cece, thank you for asking clarification. Love a good acronym.
Love it.
Love a good acronym.
We okay, at the ELCA also do that. Don't worry. The acronym soup, I think it's just a mainline Protestant thing.
That's right. Yeah. That's very true. UMC, ELCA, all these fun, even by nature of that. Okay. Izzy, tell us a little bit about what got you into the space of deciding that I'm going to go down the trajectory of vocational ministry, because that's just the normal response for all young people, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, it was definitely an uphill battle. I was called to ministry at a young age. I think I was a youth when I felt called to youth ministry, which was something I had to wrestle with as a youth because it's really hard for a young person to be called to work with young people, because it's like mentoring your peer. It's like working with your peers. And to me, that felt really hard because I was like, these are my friends. Like, this feels weird that I'm called to minister to them. And so I wrestled with that for a really long time, but I always knew that I kind of had this call to help people. And so in wrestling with that call and kind of pushing it to the side for a little bit while I was in high school, I pursued athletic training. And then when I graduated high school, I decided I wanted to do nursing. So I went to college for that originally. So that was my plan. My mom's a nurse. And I was like, yes, like I'm going to do this, like follow in her footsteps. I was so excited. And that just did not work out for me. I still have I have a very big passion for the medical field and anatomy and physiology, but it just was not, ideally, it was not what I was called to do. And I know now that I was called to work with young people. And so I started my undergrad in ministry in 2019 online, and then the pandemic happened. And so while everybody else went online for school, I was like, oh, I've kind of been doing this all along. And I really enjoyed it. And then in the pandemic, because ministry was such a difficult thing to navigate for churches, especially with young people, how do you do youth group in an age that you can't be with each other physically? And so churches were trying to figure that out. And my home church in San Antonio, the youth director at the time, just that was not something that they wanted to figure out because it really was a challenge. And so having grown up in that church, having known the students that were in that ministry, they asked me to step into that position. And so I did. And it was kind of a weird, like, full circle moment, having been there in that ministry as a youth and now getting to serve there, and having students who I got to see when they were literally like babies and now they're my students. It was like a very strange but also like wholesome thing. And so, yeah, that's like 2020. That's when I started vocational ministry. Like, weirdest, like you'd think that it's like that would be the thing to get me out of ministry, but in reality, like that is what like kept me going in ministry, because I got to be creative in ways that, we didn't get to be creative before. We had to really think on our toes and see how we could interact with youth in a digital setting. And so, yeah, I've been doing youth ministry for, I think it'll be 6 years now, come August. So it's been a wild ride for sure.
A wild ride. I mean, it sounds like it with that transition and discerning something when you were really young and then wondering, is this actually the thing? And then trying something else. And then for whatever reason, going back to it. There's stories about that in the Bible, right? Where God's like, hey, go do this. And the person's like, yeah, no. And then God eventually gets them back. So I love that. I love that real life 2026 example.
Wait, hold on. But what Bible story are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of Jonah personally, and I referenced that in a different podcast episode. So I'm like insecure about the fact that apparently I only read Jonah.
I think it's the best story when it comes to prophets. I think it's the best one. So that's just my opinion.
Okay. All right, Phil. Maybe.
I love a good joke. Maybe because when you go through Ordination United Methodist Church, you have to write a Bible study, and I wrote my Bible study on Jonah. So maybe that's why. I'm just biased to Jonah.
Did you have to write a Bible study on Jonah, Izzy?
No, not yet. I
Not
haven't
yet?
had to, so maybe I will.
Let me know if you want to talk. I got
Yeah.
I got the receipts. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I really resonate with this thought of like going back to some place that's familiar to you and then seeing kids that you've known since they were babies grow up. So my home congregation here in Austin, I've been able to worship at in this position, and the kids that I see there, like I taught them in 2-year-old Sunday school when I was in high school. And I sit there, I'm like, how are you 16? Like, you should not have a driver's license. You're so beautiful. Yeah. You're so confident. Like, you're so smart. Oh my God. You can actually speak sentences. Like, it's so sweet. And I get caught up in that, right? Because I'm not their youth mentor. I can get caught up in like the gushiness. So how do you like move through the gushiness to see them as like young people emerging into their faith? What's that like?
Oh man, I think like it's definitely hard to separate that gushiness, but I feel like it just brings out another emotion of just like feeling so proud. Now I've been at St. John's for almost a year, but I had the privilege to go back to my home congregation this past Sunday to see the seniors graduate. And again, these are kids that like they were my first confirmation class when I was there, and a lot of that, like a chunk of them, like again, I saw them when they were young. And like looking at all of them, it's just this sense of pride of like that I've seen them accomplish like so many things in their time in middle school, like, you know, and seeing that frontal lobe really develop, like it's a whole thing when you can really see that, like, wow, I remember when you made a really dumb decision and now like you're gonna go to like the military academy. Like it's just, and just to see them grow in leadership has just been like, again, it's just a sense of pride to really be like, you have so developed as a young person, and that's just something to be proud of for sure.
You know, one of the other pieces that came out of Nexus now is mentorship, right? And we talk about this a lot because it was the one that kept coming up even though we didn't have any questions about it, and yet it just naturally emerged. So you clearly are stepping into a role of mentorship for so many people now, and you even talked about like it's strange because sometimes there was peer mentorship, right? But it is strange because there's not a lot of space for that often, but like I think it's really beautiful. Like there's a really great opportunity for peer mentorship that I think is really fantastic. Would love to know who have been kind of mentors for you and guides, and what role that played for you, and especially like discerning this call to ministry, but just also as you've emerged out of or through young adulthood.
Yeah, I think my biggest mentor is my former associate pastor from my old church. Her name is Reverend Jermaine Mathis. She is an elder in the United Methodist Church. She's retired, but you know how retired clergy come back and do, you know, that's how it is. And she really is the one that kind of guided me towards like deacon in the United Methodist Church. I really was like completely unaware of that order. And so for her and I to really sit down and talk about like what ordained ministry looked like, and for me to be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, that's not at all what I'm looking at. Like, I don't want to itinerate. Like, don't move me around. Like, that's not my thing. And then for her to be like, why? That's not where I see you at. Like, this is where I see you. And I was like, I don't know what is a deacon? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so she really helped me like just open that door to learn more about the order of deacon and learn more about that role and the order in the United Methodist Church and what deacons are called to do. And I remember reading the United Methodist Deacon because that book was recommended to me, and just like being like, oh my gosh, like I feel so deeply like related to this call to service and justice and compassion. And so she really opened the door for me with that. And then I've had so many phenomenal deacon mentors to look up to, because, you know, deacon is slowly becoming a larger order in the United Methodist Church. And so I'm grateful for the people that I can look up to that are in that order. Phil, you're one of them. Like, I mean, it's like, I love seeing more deacons in the United Methodist Church. So, yeah, it's been a great experience to look up to people in this order and learn more things and grow. So, yeah.
Shout out deacons. I know when you're like, what was a deacon? I was like, it's Phil.
Yeah,
Phil's a deacon. Well, I know you're. Yeah. Deacons are a little bit different in the Lutheran Church, but I've been really enjoying learning about what they're like in the Methodist Church.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Also, Izzy, it sounds like you're about to emerge into another transition in your life. And so I wonder, one, as you think about the transitions you've been in the past couple of years since, pre 2019 online degree to get back into youth ministry and the work that you started in 2020 in the pandemic in actual practical youth ministry. And then maybe what got you into seminary? What are you're staring down graduation like it's coming in less than a month, right? So
Yeah.
how are the feelings and the vibes there? And what do you think it means to get on the other side of that?
Yeah, it's so hard. Like it really is hard to believe that it's been 3 years. Like the MAYM program is a 3-year program, and with it is like the theological education that we get in seminary and also the practical application of like working at the same time. And it is just so hard to believe that it's like, oh yeah, no, it's been 3 years. Like I started this degree 3 years ago and now I'm finishing. And I definitely feel like while I'm not like a completely different person than when I started, I have experienced different things in that time frame. And so I'm like, it's still hard to believe. Like I think I have 19 days left, 18, not that anybody's counting. But just like I don't think I've fully grasped that like I have 3 assignments left and I'm like done. And so, and I've been doing school nonstop since I graduated high school. Like I think I had a semester break. So I don't think my brain has fully grasped like, what do I do now? Like, what do I do when I don't have assignments? Like, it's like, obviously I do my job, like, and I get to do my job and lean into it a little bit more without having to do assignments during the week and stuff. But it's like, oh yeah, like, what am I going to do? And so that's been a thing that I'm having to process while also like doing my job and then being like, yeah, I also have schoolwork and I'm also graduating. Like, and then I also recently got engaged. So it's like, yeah. So talk about like all these things, just like I'm holding them all at different times because it's like, wow, there's a lot going on. So I just like, I think I'm ready for graduation and then maybe to just sit in it and fully like grasp what's going on.
Well, congrats on your engagement and on
Thank you.
graduation upcoming, and that's really exciting.
Thank you.
I think it's a good question now. Like, what are you doing to ritualize all these things? That's a lot. It's a whole lot to be doing all at one time here. So, how are you preparing yourself for all that? Again, transition. I feel like I'm beating that over and over again. But like, are there rituals that you're really investing in to help you be present to all those things all at once?
Yeah, I feel like something that I've been doing lately, especially like with the end of the school year, is I really have been pretty good about like when I leave work, like at the end of the day and I go home, like I really have tried to leave what I need to do like at work. Like it's like I will be back in the morning and I will get it done, and really just giving me the space in my little home to kind of process what's going on with me, like for graduation, and like I'll be moving soon, and like so again it's like I go home and I think I'm able to just sit and really like not forget about the work that I'm doing, but really just like be me and be like, what, like, do I want to sew right now? Like, I love sewing. And so it's like, I feel like I've been able to give myself a break and give myself a breather to really sit in the like fun of graduating. And it's like, I'm only going to, well, hopefully I'm only going to graduate with my master's once, like, so let me like take the time to actually sit in it and be excited. And so I've been able to do that by just like separating the two. And I'm really happy that I've been able to do that, because sometimes it's hard to not take that work home and be like, okay, somebody emailed me, let me just respond to that really quickly. It's like, no, this is my time to really focus on me. And so that's kind of what I've been doing.
Go ahead, Phil.
Well, it's funny that you brought up sewing. It feels like we've had a lot of crafting conversations of like crocheting and now sewing. There's just been a lot of, I feel like there's
we for sure
here.
have with Hannah and sewing,
That's
and
right.
Claire and knitting, and Katie and sewing and knitting and other fiber arts.
Right.
Yeah. We just had a podcast episode with a friend of mine from seminary, and she just finished earlier this year, like her first quilt that she ever learned to sew.
Oh,
And so we
nice.
talked with her about like the spirituality of crafting. Do you have
Mm.
anything to say about that? Have you encountered like God's presence or used your own creativity? Like I feel when I was in very practical ministry, I was in a parish call for a little over 2 years and then an internship for a year before that. Like so much creative energy goes into the work. And
Mhm.
from crafting emails to building lesson plans to doing youth trips and running programming, I mean, it's all creativity, even if it's typing on a document. And so I've just knitting the stitches over and over and over again, nothing complicated. But it was still a place to unload myself. And I've been convinced through a couple articles I've read about the importance of like mediocre hobbies. You know, like things that you're not excellent at, just things that
Yeah.
you're all right at, or you're like good
Yeah.
enough at. So,
Yeah.
any thoughts there with spirituality with hobbies?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me with sewing, like there, and so like I'm really bad at hand sewing. I'm getting better, but like so I'll use a machine, and for me, like I don't know what it is. It's like a meditative practice. Like just like I will just get in the zone of doing something, and it is that like very just tedious work of like pushing through the machine and like the sound of it, and it's such a weird like soothing thing of like my brain has no thoughts right now. Like my brain is just like pushing through this whatever I'm sewing, and it's a sense of peace almost. Like there's nothing else in that moment that is like a distraction or like a stressor. It's like it's like it's just this calm. Of course, like when something does not go my way when I'm trying to sew it, it's like, okay, then yeah, I know I need to take a break because it's becoming more of a like frustration than it is like something helpful. But just that sense of peace of like I'm not thinking about anything else but this in this moment, and this is what's kind of keeping me calm and keeping me peaceful.
I love that. Just the sense of the mediocre, I think, is a really great word for it. Just something to not do a checkout, but just something you actually kind of like this idea of almost getting the flow of it. I think it's such a healthy thing.
Well, and it's completely
Yeah.
different than like I was in the Sabbath small group in college. Shout out to my campus pastor, and we learned about the difference between um, rest and numbing, and like
Mm.
true rest.
Say more.
Yeah. My campus pastor she did a sabbatical in between my junior and senior year. And so senior year, she had a Sabbath small group where we really focused in on what is true rest and the importance of rest for college students and through the practice of Sabbath. And one of the things she taught us is that, sitting here with your phone, like scroll is not restful most of the time. And so you have to think about where is your energy at and what do you need and what will fill you. And is it just turning on a TV show just to have it on? I mean, there's some times when it's really good and it does fill you with energy. And there's other times when it's an energy drain and it's disconnecting and it doesn't do anything to reorient you to God, to self, to neighbor, to love. Or to like any kind of internal meditation practice. So I heard you, right? Like as you're going into the flow of this, I'm thinking of you like literally like putting fabric through your sewing machine. You get to have a sense of that flow, the reorientation. And then if you're just doing it on repeat without any critical thinking to it, maybe it does turn into numbing. I think anything can turn into numbing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? But like if you're like, well, I don't want to have this conversation with you, fiance, like I'm gonna go sew.
Yeah.
Probably not the best habit.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where that comes from, Phil.
I love talking about Sabbath. I think it's such an important, and part of it came from my last class when I went to seminary at Perkins School of Theology here at SMU, and the last class I did was a immersion study in the Holy Land, and so we spent a week studying at the Shalom Hartman Institute, which is a progressive Orthodox Jewish think tank, which is just really fun to see all those additives together. But one of the presentations we heard was on Sabbath, and this is way like too simplistic explanation of it, but the premise that I remember of his presentation was really that like if you look at the first three commandments of the Ten Commandments, it's all about how our relationship to God and like loving God, and then if you look at the last five, 6, it's really about like how we love our neighbor and the ethics and interaction between that. And in between those is this call to Sabbath. And that his argument was, you don't get one without the other. Like, you can't do both of them if you don't have an honest, true, good Sabbath practice. You will lose or essentially fail. Like, that's bad language, but like, you will, like, not do well with one or the other one. Like, you can focus really hard, but you'll only get one of them right if you don't have a good Sabbath practice. And it's always stuck with me, right? Of like this sense of you have to have this intentional. And I think that's an important word with Sabbath, because not everybody has 24 hours. Like, props to all of our Jewish siblings who like literally still hold Sabbath. Like, there are some times where I'm like, man, Jews get it sometimes, like they're really good with rituals. Like, I went to my first bat mitzvah a couple months ago. I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Like, this is such a cool ritual for young people as they're emerging, like, and I know we try to do it with confirmation, and we could talk about confirmation. We should talk about confirmation. But anyway, all to say, I think there's something, especially for young adults and as you're emerging into your vocation too, like to set those boundaries, right? Like, and even just saying, I'm going to go home and my work's going to be when I come back in the morning. Like, that is a Sabbath practice that is such an essential thing for your own well-being and health, so that you can show up to love God and so that you can show up to love the people you've been called to love.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like you don't have that energy if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not giving yourself that time to recharge and your own personal time to, form and develop your relationship with God. Like, I mean, especially for me, like, how am I supposed to pour into young people and like say, hey, do the same if, I'm not being that example. And so that's why, I think it's incredibly important to be able to take that time, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's like, I'm leaving work and I'm going to save this time for myself at the end of the day. That's what's really important.
I read a book this year by Liza Rankow, and I interviewed her on my other podcast, but she has a book called Soul Medicine for a Fractured World, and she differentiates between self-care and soul care. And I was like, oh, that's so good. Mm-hmm. It's like my, I don't know, I've been holding that book like close to my chest because it's just so good. But anyway,
not Phil showing out his own other podcast on this podcast.
Look. It's just out there. It exists. I'm just saying.
Sure. Anyways, I wonder, Izzy, look at that. Get that off the screen.
The book is right here.
Oh, I love
Liza Rankow. Shout out, yeah.
Liza must be like sliding him a 20 in the background. Izzy, I know like you have this big thing coming up. You said you just got engaged, so I'm sure there's also wedding planning. And also the summer is youth ministry season. Right? Like,
yes.
I have friends in youth ministry, and I'm like, so see you in August? They're like, yeah, for sure. See you in August.
Yeah.
And I remember that when I was a youth intern. So tell us, like, how does that balance work for you in the summer?
Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. I'm actually now with St. John's, I do children and youth. So like, you're thinking the typical youth, like camps, mission trips, like this is also now like VBS stuff. So my summer is already packed. I think it's been planned since like January, how that goes. But I think with that, like already having things planned, like, okay, I know this week is VBS, this week is mission trip, like this week is annual conference, this week is middle school stuff. Like I also have been able to maybe not quite intentionally yet make plans for myself, but also be like, okay, like these 2 weeks are going to be a lot. Like this, like July is a lot. Like I've got a week between my high school mission trip out of state and my vacation Bible school. And so, kind of already knowing that and being able to kind of set that up for me, I think has been helpful because I'm like, okay, I am going to make sure I intentionally take time for myself in between those 2 times to just chill out, like whatever that means, like whether I need to like sleep for a couple of days, whether I need to do a major reset of like laundry or just clean. Like I think kind of I'm also an avid planner. I love plans. So when I am able to see that like on a calendar, I'm also able to see like, okay, here's time that I can take for myself. But also it's a big thing of like, okay, I know I have volunteers, and I know that, like, which I'm incredibly grateful for, because I know in some ministry contexts, like, that is a difficult thing to find. Like, volunteers are a big resource. And so I'm grateful to have volunteers to be able to lean on in this time to say, like, they know I just got back from a mission trip, and like I can delegate and say, hey, here's some things I need help with while I take a breather. And so that's been really nice to kind of see the summer and be like, okay, and after I finish high school mission trip and VBS, I will be taking a week off, because like I'm not going to try, like my brain will probably be fried by then. And so I'm grateful to already look at the calendar and see that and try and build that time in and say, yeah, no, I'm going to need a few days.
Good for you. Good for you for just owning that and naming it and doing it. And I hope that it all follows through. Would love to know, you mentioned volunteers, and would love to know what community looks like for you as a youth pastor, because I did that for 6 years also. So props to you. You've reached the point where I hit the 6-year mark and I was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. I'm too old for this.
Yeah.
But just what does community look like for you, and support, both for just, again, life in general, but also in faith, like, call it belonging, call it whatever you want. But like, I know you moved about a year ago from San Antonio to Austin. So what does community look like for you as you settle into this new phase of life?
Yeah, I am so incredibly grateful for the community here at St. John's. I just feel so taken care of, just like, not just like as a staff person, but like as like a human, and as a young adult too, like people understanding like where I'm coming from, and like in my move being like, do you need pots? Like, do you need pans? Like, what do you need? And just that care and concern. And so like, I felt so supported. And like one time my car broke down here, and it was like, well, my parents are, an hour, 2 hours away, like, and just to have the support from people to be like, do you need a ride? Like, let me show you how to use the Austin transit system, which is fantastic. I will say, at least getting from my apartment to St. John's.
Must be nice.
Great. Yeah.
It's not that way in Dallas, but anyway.
Well, it's also not that way in parts of Austin.
That's true. That's true. It's not great everywhere, but I'm like, I know the route from my apartment to St. John's, and like, it's great. So, and somebody showed me how to do that. So I'm like grateful for that. And so I've just been so grateful that I feel like I've been able to come into a community that just cares so deeply about me, having only been here for less than a year. And then I'm also just grateful for the community I have for like my MAYM program. Like, we might all be in different parts of the country, but like, we're so connected to each other. And I know like I can reach out to them in a text, or like we can vent about a class or an assignment, and we can just, take time for each other, or like we can confide in each other when things in our ministry aren't going great or we need help. And that, despite not being a community that's physical all the time, since we don't see each other but maybe 2 to 4 times a year, depending on the like intensive schedules. It's such a it's such a belonging and a community in itself, that it's like, we might not see each other all the time, but like we are there for each other, regardless of what's going on in our lives and our ministries. And it's the same way too. I'm a part of a group on Facebook called the Women in Youth Ministry Group. That community in itself is amazing, to be able to confide in other women that are in youth ministry, children's ministry, like ordained ministry, and just really support each other in times of need, but also to celebrate each other when things are going well. Like over the past 3 weeks, we've discovered that 3 of us have gotten engaged in the past month. Like, so just to be able to like lift each other up and be like, oh my gosh, like, look at us. Like, and so community sometimes has changed from being like, physically present and in person, but to have that online community that like, I know I can reach out to these people almost any time of the day, and I'll get a response, and we'll be able to talk to each other. It's great. And while I would love to be with them all the time, I'm like, I'm also a bit of an introvert. So I think like that would be a lot for me. So I'll take like the online community and the sometimes in-person interaction. But all of that is part of my community, and part of like who I am, and part of like how I'm able to be like the person I am and the minister that I am. And so I'm grateful for all of those people and all of those communities.
I love it. And I'm so glad that you have a supportive space, especially being in a new city, a new time of life, a new congregation, new position, like that's big, and grateful for that. Grateful to St. John's for gifting you that. As you, I think I want to stick a little bit with this idea of ritual and transition. So I was thinking a little bit about confirmation when you brought up that, Phil, and the bat mitzvah that you went to, and we've gone to a couple for a colleague of my husband's whose daughters have completed their bat mitzvahs, and I love the fact that the parents are so involved, right? Like, I left my congregation in December. The girls that I taught confirmation to are going to be getting confirmed like next month, and there's a lot of grief there for me of I will not be able to do anything but like watch that online. But when I was dreaming about shaping that, I was thinking about how do you integrate the family? How do you integrate the congregation? So I wonder, in your own life, you're talking about these communities of belonging, right? Through St. John's, through MAYM, through this women's youth ministry group that you're a part of. Are they a part of ritualizing this next step for you? Will they come to your graduation? Are you sharing graduation announcements even? Like, what are ways that you're yearning for support in that? Knowing that sometimes it's a challenge to ask, right? Mm-hmm. Like, hey, y'all, this is important. Show up for me. That's a big thing.
Yeah,
that's a good word.
I struggle to do that.
Yeah.
And also, I just read this book by Kate Bowler, Joyful Anyway, and one of her thoughts in that book is so good, by the way. So
I want to read it.
You should and listen to it too. She speaks it in the audiobook. Yes. And Phil got to bring up his book. I'll bring up my book, and then we'll ask you, Izzy, at the end of this podcast what your book is. I can't show you it because I audiobooked it. Anyways, one of the things she's like is throw a party for yourself when you make a big decision or a small decision. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Kate, come on, that's hard. So there's a question in there somewhere. I'm not great at articulating them succinctly, but I think you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, with this, like, having these, like, I don't know if I want to call them, like, digital communities, but, like, online communities. Like, with the MAYM, we have a cohort. There's, I don't want to get it wrong. There's 6 of us, 7 of us. I don't know. There's a number of us that are graduating together. But a few of us are just close together just because we've had similar experiences or we're, like, around the same age. And so, one of them, she came down for my birthday. She lives in Dallas. She came down for my birthday and she sent me her graduation announcement in the mail. And so then, like, today I mailed out mine and I sent one to her, because I was like, I'm like, oh, like, I want, like, and it's on my fridge. Like, anytime anybody sends me like an announcement or a card, like, it goes on my fridge because I'm like, I love just celebrating those moments. I'm an Enneagram too. So, like, I'm all about helping people and celebrating people and lifting people up. And so when I get to put them on my fridge and see that, it makes me so happy. But, like, with that too, like with my online community with like women in youth ministry, like, I got to post my graduation pictures that a friend of mine took that I loved them. And I loved people just like hyping me up in the comments from that group. Like, we're friends on Facebook, like, outside of that group, and just the hype that people were giving me was just like, I was like, oh, guys, like, stop. Like, I'm just like a type of person that's like, oh, like, like, not that I don't take compliments well, but I'm just like the type of person that I would rather give other people the praise and the excitement. And so, but like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I want to show this off because I'm like, I'm graduating with my master's, like, that's a big deal. And so to get that hype and excitement from my community, like, it makes me so happy. And just like, my family is coming here for graduation in May, and like, knowing that, like, I was having to figure out, okay, like, how many people can I bring to graduation because my family's larger and they all want to be here. And so I definitely feel super celebrated in this time. And I always feel cared for by my communities and my family, but it just feels extra special for this, like, extra special time. And I definitely feel that from all the different places and all the different people.
That's lovely. I would love to know, like, futures thinking a little bit now. What are you seeing for the future of the church? And not that you have to speak on behalf of all young adults, but I usually end up tokenizing young adults at some point on the podcast. So speaking on behalf of your entire generation, like, what do you wish the church knew about young adults? And especially as a young adult that's chosen to be in full-time ministry, like, what do you wish the church knew?
Yeah, that's it's definitely a hard one. It's it's hard to see what our denomination has gone through with disaffiliation and trying to look forward to, okay, what do we do next? Like, what comes next through all of these things? And also just seeing, church numbers nationwide, worldwide, and attendance, going down either way. And so I think for me, and especially, I feel like I've been able to have this perspective throughout my time in the MAYM program is like, how are we doing church differently? Like, how are we, you know, not necessarily like trying to pull young adults or pull other people in our community into our church and say, well, this is who we are and this is what we're gonna stick to it. But what are ways that we are engaging people in the communities that they're at? Because sometimes like we are going to interact with people that may never come through our doors, but like the church is not a building. Like the church is so much more than just the structure that we have created, and like we are the church in the world. And so how can we do church differently? And I think sometimes that might be controversial because I think that we want to stick to the structure that's been created in our society of Sunday mornings, open the doors, open the buildings, we're here. But if that is what's not working, if we're seeing that it's not working for the next generation or these young adults, like what are we doing to make a change? Like what are we actively doing in our communities to engage with young adults and see what they might need? Because I think that's what it's all about. It's not about what we want and what we want to fit our community, but what young adults and people in our community need, and how we are able to try and meet those needs, whatever that looks like. And so I think about the future of the church, and I don't really know what that'll look like, but I don't know if it'll look like a bunch of church buildings being open. And I think it's sometimes scary to have the thought that like churches are closing down, like buildings are closing and stuff. But like, what if we decided to do church differently? Like, what if things looked differently and it wasn't a scary thing that buildings are closing because people are out in the world actively being the church, actively doing ministry? And so like I don't know if that's like a hot take, but like that's kind of where I'm at as a young adult and seeing where we are in the church, that like, yeah, we need to do something different, because if we do the same thing over and over and we don't have we have the same results, like it's insanity. So let's go try and do something different.
Amen.
You unknowingly probably just really touched upon the work that we do in our other grant with rural and small town congregations, where it's like, if we want different results, we got to do things differently. And how scary and also amazing that is. And I know as a young person in the church, right, like now in the seminary, but ordained in the ELCA, Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, I'm 29. It'd be really great if I could retire from ministry, and I honestly don't think that's going to happen because of how things are going. But I love your take, because on my bad days, I am like, oh no, oh God. And on my good days, I'm more like you. And so thanks for your optimism and your passion and the faith and what the difference that God is inviting us can allow. Not just, more money, more programs, more buildings, but how do we live faithfully? How do we live as the people of Christ, the body of Christ in the world? Yeah. Any last words, Izzy? We're kind of getting up to our time that we like to have our podcasts.
I mean, you got to share your book.
You have to share your book.
Oh gosh, I don't like.
It doesn't have to be a theology book.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I just started a new fiction book yesterday. What's it called? Oh, it's called, I don't have it on me because it's on my Kindle, but it's called An Academic Affair. It's like a fake marriage. These two Australian professors get married so they can have a tenured job at a university in Australia. And so, but they've also been academic rivals for like since their undergrad to their PhD, and now they have to like pretend they're married to get this like job. And I don't know. I just was like, I need something that is not like theology. I was like, in writing all these essays and finishing all these things for seminary, I was like, I need just a fun read. So that's my book.
That. Oh yeah, I remember that. Like post graduation, I'm free. I am free to read what I want.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Send all your recommendations, podcast listeners, and send all of your book thoughts. And Izzy's friends and family, like, send her a gift card to buy something she wants to read that's not some tome of academic MAYM kind of theology.
Yes.
Okay, I do love to ask this question too, because I just feel like we need more of this in the world. But where are you finding beauty lately as well?
Oh, man. I think where I'm finding beauty, especially here in Austin, because of how much like rain we've gotten over the past, like, I don't know, it feels like 2 weeks, but also, I don't know, is just how green the earth has been. Like I drove down Shoal Creek, which is near our church, and the trees were just green. And I feel like I have been learning to love the color green, and it's this like sense of life and creation. And so I feel like that's where I've seen beauty, is like in places where, you know, during the summer it gets pretty dry and we're like, are those trees going to survive? But to see the life and growth in those trees right now because of the rain and lightning and thunder, like it's beautiful.
Well, thank you, Izzy, and thank you for your time. Congratulations on all these exciting pathways.
All the things.
All the things.
Yes.
Congratulations to all of the people that are listening to this podcast that are in a similar position as Izzy, right? Who are going through transitions, who are doing big things, who are doing small things, and celebrating those too. So we'll cheer you on. We're grateful for the work that you're doing, and yeah, good luck this summer, especially. It's going to be amazing and exhausting, but
yes,
you got it. So thanks for your time today.
Totally. Blessings on your ministry, Izzy. We're grateful for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Collective Voice, the premier podcast of the 787 Collective. For more information, visit us at 787collective.org or find us on social media. And if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate us, and share a review. For when you do, you are tricking the algorithm for the common good.